You open your laptop to plan one simple trip. 3 hours later, you have 18 hotel tabs open, 4 train routes, 2 airport transfer options, and no idea whether you are getting closer to a decision. Nobody is there to double check the neighborhood. Nobody notices the hotel has no elevator. Nobody says, "I'll handle the train, you book the room." Every decision belongs to you. In one national survey on solo travel, 51% said the thought of staying somewhere unfamiliar was enough to make them think twice. 44% said the same about navigating an airport or train station alone. That number tells us something important. You may not be afraid of traveling alone. You may be exhausted from planning alone. Here are 5 reasons it happens, and one core rule that ties the fix together. Solo travel gives you complete freedom. You choose where to go, how long to stay, and what you want the day to feel like. But complete freedom also brings complete responsibility. Every booking, transportation decision, budget calculation, and backup plan lands with you. That overload starts in a predictable place. The first problem is where the overload usually begins. The problem is rarely one difficult decision. The real problem is the next 50. Which city? Which neighborhood? Which hotel? Is it close to the station? Is the street quiet? Does the hotel have an elevator? Should you take the cheaper flight with a connection or pay more for the direct one? Then you read one bad review and start the entire search again. Travel websites make this worse. They convince you that the perfect answer is still one more click away. More options do not always create more freedom. Sometimes they create paralysis. Choose 3 non-negotiables before you start searching: your purpose, your comfort, your pace. Why are you taking the trip? What do you need to feel comfortable? How much activity can you realistically enjoy without wearing yourself down? Once those answers are clear, eliminate anything that does not fit. You are no longer comparing every hotel in Paris. You are comparing centrally located hotels with elevators, quiet rooms, and simple transportation. You do not need the perfect choice. You need a small group of choices that will work. This is the pattern that shows up again and again. The travelers who feel calm on day 1 aren't the ones who found the perfect hotel. They're the ones who stopped looking for it. Stopping the search solves one problem. The next one shows up on the receipt. The second problem is figuring out what the trip will actually cost. Solo travel does not always look expensive at first glance. The extra cost appears later. A room rate assumes 2 people are sharing. A tour almost always adds a single supplement. A taxi fare that seems reasonable for a couple feels different when one person pays the entire amount. The cheapest option at the beginning is not always the cheapest once everything is included. Compare the final solo price. Include the full room costs, supplements, baggage fees, seat selection, airport transportation, and the cost of reaching the hotel. Then ask a better question. Not, what is the lowest advertised price? Ask, what will I personally pay to complete this journey comfortably? A hotel near the station saves 2 taxi rides. A direct train costs more but removes a stressful connection. Convenience is not wasted money when it removes a predictable source of stress. Money solves the price problem. It doesn't solve what happens once you're standing in the station. The third problem is transportation. Not simply finding the train, managing everything now attached to it. Your ticket depends on your phone, battery, password, internet connection, payment method, and the correct app, all working at the same time. Meanwhile, you are watching your luggage, reading the departure board, listening for announcements, and looking for a platform change. When 2 people travel together, one watches the bags while the other checks the map. Alone, you manage the technology and the physical environment at the same time. That is not incompetence. That is cognitive overload. Stop patching this with backups. Change the transportation choice itself. Use only two options: private transfer or first-class rail. Cap door-to-door travel at 3 hours. Skip any route with a complex connection, a multi-leg train transfer, or a station change that needs stairs and a confusing map. If a journey requires 5 apps to work correctly at once, that journey is the problem, not your phone's battery. When you do travel by rail, download your tickets before leaving the hotel and save a screenshot that works without internet access. Carry a charging bank. Keep the hotel address on paper. These are backups, not the fix. The fix is choosing a route simple enough that you rarely need them. Saving $20 is not worth 2 train changes, 3 platforms, and an afternoon spent worrying about a missed connection. The transit standard fixes how you move between places. The next problem is bigger. It's about how many places you choose and how long you stay in each one. A calendar shows 10 open hours. Your body does not have 10 hours of sightseeing available. Long flights, poor sleep, heat, hills, cobblestones, train stations, and constant walking all reduce the energy you have for the experience itself. Many itineraries treat every open hour as a space that needs to be filled. You land in the morning, you leave your luggage at the hotel, you take a walking tour, you visit a museum, you have a late dinner, you begin the following morning with a timed reservation. On paper, the itinerary works. You may not. Here's the rule that fixes this without cutting anything you actually want to do. For a trip of roughly 7 to 10 days, use the 2-3-1 rule. 2 primary bases. Fewer cities mean fewer hotel changes, train journeys, check-ins, and days spent managing luggage. Picture the difference. One version of this trip has you unpacking 4 times. The other has you unpacking twice. 3 nights minimum in each base. The first day is partly an arrival day. The final day involves packing or moving on. 3 nights gives you at least 1 full day when you are not arriving or departing. That 1 full day is where the trip actually starts to feel like rest instead of logistics. 1 anchor activity per day. An anchor is the one experience with a fixed time or clear purpose. A museum reservation, a walking tour, a historical site, a performance. Everything else stays flexible. You may still visit a market, explore a neighborhood, or sit in a cafe. The day does not collapse because one activity takes longer than expected. 2 bases reduce logistics. 3 nights reduce urgency. 1 anchor protects your energy. The 2-3-1 rule does not make the trip empty. The rule makes the trip manageable. The rule handles the logistics. One problem is still waiting, and it has nothing to do with logistics at all. The 5th problem begins before the trip. You imagine eating every meal alone. You wonder whether a quiet afternoon will feel peaceful or simply empty. So you start filling the calendar. A morning tour, an afternoon class, a group dinner, an evening performance. Soon the trip is so scheduled that you lose the freedom solo travel was supposed to provide. Loneliness usually feels bigger in the imagining than in the doing. Create predictable social touchpoints instead of filling every hour. Book a walking tour early in the trip. Join a small cooking class. Take a limited group day trip. Stay in a hotel with a staffed lobby or comfortable common area. Your daily anchor becomes your social connection. Take the tour, enjoy the conversation, and leave the rest of the day open. You do not have to choose between being completely alone and joining a group for the entire trip. There is a comfortable space between those 2 extremes. Solo travel planning feels heavy because all the responsibility is concentrated. No one else is checking the platform. No one is questioning the hotel location. No one notices that Wednesday asks too much of you. Feeling overwhelmed does not mean you are incapable of traveling alone. The trip usually needs fewer decisions, not more research. Choose 3 non-negotiables. Compare the real solo price. Simplify the transportation with the transit standard. Create a few social touchpoints. Then, test the trip against the 2-3-1 rule. 2 primary bases, 3 nights minimum, 1 anchor activity per day. Most travelers who plan a trip this way come home already thinking about the next one. The planning problems are real. They do not predict regret. The purpose of traveling alone is not to prove you can manage everything. The purpose is the freedom of choosing what matters to you. Plan less around how much you can fit into the trip. Plan more around how you want the trip to feel. Which part of solo trip planning creates the most stress for you? Choosing the destination, managing the cost, navigating transportation, pacing the itinerary, or worrying about being alone? Share your answer in the comments. Before you add another city or another reservation, remember, 2 bases, 3 nights minimum, 1 anchor per day. Plan smarter, travel calmer.